Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca and welcome back to my Pixel Quest. Thank you for joining me again today to continue our blind playthrough of The Return of the Obra Dinn. I'm super excited for today's episode because we have just gone into a new chapter just at the very beginning of it. Like I haven't looked at anything in any real detail. So I'm super keen to get stuck into this. I was just like coming. Oh, this music. I feel like there's a little fiddle in my heart, in the space of my heart, that's like, just like playing. Let's not get too grotesque about it. It's playing in my soul, let's say. I was just thinking, coming back to this title screen yet again, and just thinking about how happy it makes me. And I think I have mentioned this right at the beginning of the playthrough. Like one of the big game influences in my youth was The Secret of Monkey Island. Huge game for me. I was a major fan of point-and-click adventure games, and text-based adventure games, everything like that. So this just reminds me of The Secret of Monkey Island vibes so much. Anyway, goodbye title screen, I love you so. Let's continue. Great, okay, this dropped me right back where I was. So we've had a very brief look at We've had a very brief look at this space, and that's it. The slippers, the punching bags. That's about it. And I followed this little breadcrumb trail. I've had a little bit of a look at... I had a little bit of a look inside the surgeon's room, or Henry Evans's room. And we've seen this scene. That's really it so far. And only for that brief moment before, like, everything kind of gets swallowed up. Now, before I get started on this, and trust me, no one wants to get started on this more than me. I really want to. But I have a couple of things that are... a couple of little things I want to check on that are sort of dangling in my mind. And I'd like to undangle them. Undangle them? I'd like to go and check on these things. Okay, now just let me take a quick look once again at the map, the ship. So we are here. Okay, so over the other side and a little bit behind me. Is where I wonder, is this where we saw the clothing that I was talking about in the last... No, it's not. Okay, so my guess was wrong. Okay. Yeah, and in fact, this doesn't have any sleeping space in it. Oh, no, it does. Okay, it's up there. All right. Okay, I was like, why? Is this just an office? Okay. Is this... I wonder if this is like a little... I was going to say sink, but... Is it a little bathroom? Is this the water closet? I guess people can't all use what I suspect is the toilet in here. By the way, walking around in here, I suspect this is kind of more of a public lavatory. I don't know. By the way, sometimes when I'm walking around on this ship, right, and I'm doing things like what I just decided there, like I'm just going to go and have a look at this, even though there's nothing, I know I'm not going to see anything new. I kind of just want to look at it again, and also because I'm referring to it, I want to show you guys. But what's happening sometimes when I'm doing that is, and I won't, because I don't want to give any spoilers about any other games. I'm not going to name names or say anything at all. This is an if you know kind of reference, right? When I'm walking around sometimes doing things like that, there's a little part of my brain that is concerned about steps. And I'm going, do I need to walk in that other room? That's all I'll say. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But I've been very infected by that thinking. So even in this environment. Okay. That's not it. That's the one with the horn. I remember the horn, at least what I think is a horn. Yeah, that's the one that has the smashed. That's got our skeleton in it. This is the one with the clothing. Okay, where am I then? So stewards. Oh, well that makes sense. Of course, there's a room for stewards. When I was musing in the last episode on, does the second mate and the second and the second mate's steward, is that what they're actually called? You know, do they like sleep in the same room or something? I didn't really think so, because I was like, if you're a first mate or a second mate, like if you're like second in command on a ship or third in command on a ship, I'm sure that you get your own room, right? I'm sure that you don't. But at the same time, it could be the whole thing of like, I want to have effectively my servant on hand to do things for me. I'm not suggesting anything when I say that. I mean, like, I don't know, go and get me a beer. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, look, it's just things I'm considering. But I guess all of the stewards go in here? However, aren't there like at least 4 stewards? Aren't there at least 4 stewards? There must be at least 4. Yeah, first mate, second mate, third mate, fourth mate, steward. But there's also ship steward. Ship steward? What is a ship steward? Are you a generic steward? You just steward for everybody. And then there's captain steward. Captain's, not captain steward, sir. Captain's steward. I mean, that's 6 stewards. You can't be telling me you can. It's a ship, I get it. I mean, there's 3 beds, but it could be that there's 2 people per bed. It just could be that. Or they sleep in shifts. I'm going to say that if there are 6 people that sleep in here, maybe someone stands in the closet, then it's pretty wild that only one person, like there's 4 hooks here, right? And one person's, if there are 6 people in here, there are 5 effective hooks here, and one person's clothing is taking up 2 of them. One person's clothing is taking up 2/5 of the clothing infrastructure, the wardrobe infrastructure in this room of 6 people, or even if it's 3 people, that's a lot. That's more than their fair share. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is what I was interested to see. So I'm going to say that that's, at least for me, there's a strong possibility, a very strong possibility, that this is the clothing of, down here, this guy. But to be honest, it could also be that this guy has the same outfit, because well, actually we do have him in a memory, so I think I could go and check. This guy's clothing is quite clear in the third memory of the murder. It's very clear, and I would say it's almost so clear that it's actually intentionally obvious. So that's why I feel quite good linking this clothing to this guy. It's more and more compelling data that, to me, I'm strongly suspecting this is the second mate steward. The steward of our Edward Nichols, who seems to be doing so much bad stuff. This guy has kind of similar clothing as well, though. But he is wholly unknown to me at this stage. However, in the last episode I mused that this very well could be a kilt. Like, look at even the socks up there. I think this is... I'm feeling pretty decent about assuming that this guy is Scottish. Now, we know William is Scottish and we know who he is. We know Abigail is Scottish and we know who she is. So who are the other Scots? We have Duncan Mackay, the purser. The purser is just of such interest to me. Maybe just because it's a very different role on a ship like this to what a lot of people do, and also because I just learned while playing this game the word purser. But there's also Timothy Butement, a topman. Okay, so I reckon this guy with the kilt is either Timothy Butement, a topman, or Duncan Mackay, the purser. I'm inclined to think the topman. The reason is, in another memory, I already have a theory that I quite like, that another person is the purser. I don't know if I can recall exactly where they are on this sketch, but there's someone else. No, that's the boy. There's someone else here that seemed like... I can't remember which one it was. Anyway, there's someone else here that was like on a boat, getting in the escape, getting on the boat. No, not in the escape, sorry, in what? In another chapter. In another chapter that doesn't come to mind right now, there was someone else that was getting on a boat. And I think, at the moment, I think that's the purser. So I reckon this Scottish guy is a topman. And it's a bit difficult. I'm kind of inclined to think the people with higher ranking positions tend to be here, and, you know, some of them around here, etc. You know, a lot of this could be the 4 stewards, like the 4, the 4 mate stewards, right? Like, they're all they look like they're wearing similar... Oh, man, I've just realized this guy here at the front, we can see his bottom half, and he has the same outfit. They have an outfit. There's a steward outfit. Okay. Well, look, in that case, I guess it doesn't matter. The outfit belongs to the stewards. It's the room for stewards, and it has the steward outfit in it. So it doesn't matter whose exact outfit it is. It's the steward outfit. Ah, why do they all have this little skirt? It's just really interesting to me. And high socks. Well, I guess I don't know if they all have it, but I can say that these 2 people have it. I don't know about these 2. I could go back and look at the Paul Moss memory to check, but it's just one of many things that I want to check, right? Okay, all right. I feel like I'm pretty good, at least, with this. I think that there's a very good chance these are the mate's stewards. I don't know about the ship steward and the captain steward. Like, who would be the captain steward has got to be the most important steward. Oh, well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe the ship steward is the most important steward. But the captain steward has got to be pretty important. If these are the mate stewards, and that's just a theory, except for, well, yeah, I guess this is also a theory, right? This isn't, yeah, we haven't confirmed this. This is what I think. Who, theoretically, would be the captain steward? Wouldn't they be also near... Wouldn't they hang about the way that the mate stewards are hanging out near the mates? Is there anyone else that's... Like, do the ship steward and the captain steward also kind of wear this outfit? And that means... Hang on, am I remembering correctly? This is the most recent victim that we've looked at, I think. Okay, so that could be one of the mate stewards as well. These guys are kind of... They have jackets and cravats. This guy, it's just too hard to see. I don't know what he has, but I feel like it's not... It could be? I don't know. I feel like it's not that jacket. There are several other hatted people. Like this one, bosun, you know, we've got it. It's an important officer job. if we go along with the assumptions I'm making so far about the other officer positions, who would these important-looking hatted people be? Let me just give this a brief consideration. We've got Henry Evans, who can't die. Henry Evans has to be alive. So, well, what do I know? I think he is. I think there's a very good chance he is. I reckon maybe he escaped. Because if the Obra Dinn went missing at some point, it's not as if he was just found on it, right? Right? What do I know? I know nothing. So I think he must have escaped the ship at some point. But surely at a very late point. Surely Henry knows. Henry knows enough to fill out all of the chapters, and that includes the end. Was he there until the end? Like, we didn't see him. He's not in the sections. He's not within the space of the memories that we've been given there. But then again, they only take place on one area of the ship. Like, maybe he is there in another area of the ship. Maybe a whole bunch of people are still there at that stage. And in that case, what kind of an end is it? If there are still several other people who are on the ship at that point? I don't know. Okay. But either way, so we've got Henry Evans. I don't know. I'm not sure how to think about this guy's existence yet. Like, is he even represented in that picture? Or was he not present in that sketch, I mean? And we've got surgeon's mate. Man. So, all right. So there are stewards for the mates, but there are mates. So there's the bosun and the bosun's mate, not the bosun's steward. There's the surgeon and the surgeon's mate, not the surgeon's steward. And there's the carpenter and the carpenter's mate, not the carpenter's steward and the gunner's mate, etc. Okay, but either way, in terms of, let's assume a hatted person, there's a very good chance that they are a carpenter rather than a carpenter mate, like that sort. So we know who the bosun is. I think we know who all of the mates are. Carpenter is possible. We've got cook and butcher, but I do think I kind of know who they are. And I don't know if they would be hat-wearing people. We know who the gunner is, I think. I think I know. I think I have an idea of who the purser is, but I could definitely imagine the purser being a hat wearer. There's the helmsman, and there's the artist. The artist is not depicted in the sketch. We do definitely know who the artist is. We have a good look at them. So, of people who would wear a hat, I don't know. Helmsman, purser. I'm going to discount cook and butcher. Sorry, cook and butcher. Carpenter, surgeon. All right, so it doesn't narrow it down that much, but it narrows it down a bit. Okay. All right, I'm happy with this clothing investigation. Now, one other thing I want to do before we go back down a level and start investigating down there is I want to make good on my theory, on my thinking about this sparkle, that my current theory is that this is the shell and that the shell was tossed aside in the bargain chapter, and so therefore I want to go and see, can this shell be seen in the chapter, before and after? So what's the best way of doing that? I need to get to the doom and I need to get to the escape. So let's head on over here. I mean, the problem with the doom is, yes, we're up on like the top deck, but there's a lot of chaos. Before I even look at the doom, though, let's go and see if this is present in the escape. right? Let me just double check for myself that this is what I want to do. I am fairly sure it is. Yeah, the escape. Okay. So the escape, what is the best? The problem with this one is that I think not all of the parts will let me access, will either let me get access to the top deck, or will let me look out a window to be able to see that. Alfred, maybe Alfred's is, yeah, because surely from that, no, I don't know. Paul Moss up there. Okay. How about Paul Moss? I think this is you. Da-da.
Last one. Move
Now
quick.
this gives me a chance actually to look at his clothing. You know, he's wearing pants, so he doesn't have the same... I'm calling it a skirt, but I don't know what actually to call that item of clothing, but let's go with skirt. He doesn't have that, as far as I can tell. He just has pants. He's a steward with pants. Now that's the boy. Yeah, yep. Who I think is the boy. That's the woman who I think is... So this one I think is Emily, am I right? If I'm remembering right, I think that's Emily's husband. Hang on a second. Are you also... It looked like he was wearing a skirt because his legs kind of get intercepted by the foreground in a sense. But no, I think he must have pants on, I'm not sure. Okay. And that's... No. That's the woman. Yeah, that's the younger woman. Okay. Either way, look, it's... Yeah, this is what I sort of suspected. So I don't know if this kind of... I also don't know, like maybe the ship's a bit turned around, right? In all of the chaos. I don't know what's going on here, is the thing. I don't know if all of this stuff we see here is something weird that's going on. You know, is this some kind of fog or something like that? So maybe I literally can't see out. Yeah, this is sort of what I suspected, that I still like my theory, but it feels like actually nothing can be seen outside of the ship. Feels like we're in, I don't know, a fog, or maybe there are a billion tiny wretched fish that are just swarming everywhere. I don't know. I don't know what's going on out there. Okay. Well, since I'm here again, that's William, yeah? That's William. This is the gunner, yeah? That's the gunner. Yep. Okay. That's Captain. This is our guy who loves climbing everywhere. Indeed. He's always climbing. What a little scallywag. Okay. Just since I'm here, it's nice to have a little renewal. Aha! 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 Now, okay, now I have a little bit more context for some stuff that's going on here. You. So this guy is listening into the officers. Well. This is the guy who gets knifed. And he is one of our, I think he is one of the two midshipmen that isn't Paul. Right. I think. Let me remind myself who is here in this scene. This guy, who I think is the, what is it, the fourth mate? I think. Alfred and Alfred and this guy with a hat. This guy with a hat, as many people are described as, but I don't know who he is. Who would wear a hat like that? A carpenter? Wouldn't be my guess. Maybe this is the hat that the captain steward wears, you know? Captain Steward. This guy's certainly doing a lot. This guy is very involved, and quite frankly, he seems a little heroic because, you know, he's like, yeah. Am I remembering right? This is the guy who grabbed the gun, threw the gun to Alfred, maybe. Yeah, no sparkle to be seen, but nothing is to be seen out there apart from dots. It's just dots. Now this, there's no way for me to figure out why this curtain is closed, is there? Because look at this light source under here. Does that seem like that's a person? That's the shadow of a person who is standing there blocking the light. Or it could just be that there are two windows like this with a wall space between them. Could just be that. I'm really, as soon as I saw this was closed, I was like, someone is in there. Someone is in there. What if I do this? What if I do this? Hang on, there's a little dot there. Guess that's nothing. Zoom. Zoom. No identification. Okay, it doesn't work like that. The magic doesn't work like that. Okay. All right. Fair enough, game. That's interesting to see, to be able to kind of see this and have a bit more context for it now. So this is in part 2. Yeah. Alfred had this conversation here before he passed away, where he talks about, like, what does he say that's the most interesting? The captain, see, here's the thing. The captain came up from the hold, said he chased it off. You should rest. A curse like that does not lift for nothing. Yeah. Because the captain threw the shell overboard. But I guess whatever was here in this conversation, this guy has heard. And whatever conversation is happening here now, but we don't know. There might be no conversation. It might just be that he's overheard Alfred's last words. Then we're currently in this memory. He's still here kind of listening. Stuff happens up top. Last one, move quick. Oi, you'll not take the last boat. Last boat, by the way. That's a very interesting and important point. Paul, look out. Stop. Let them go. No. Damn, says Paul. So that happens up above with everybody trying to leave. Poor Paul gets it. In the next part, this guy, the woman on the boat, the last boat trying to escape, she has had enough. Someone says let them go. I think probably the captain who's standing behind, threatening to shoot this guy, but the woman says, don't worry, I got this. So that occurs. But all of this is on the top deck, so I don't know. It's been I don't know if we can come back down and see what's happening with this guy during this time. Anyway, I'm just doing a little bit of reasoning. Now here is where stuff really seems to be happening down here. Enough, captain cannot be trusted, says our victim here. Says this guy who has just... So maybe he is still in this room that we've just entered. Enough. Captain cannot be trusted. You have a plan. This could be the fourth mate. Yes, we take ship and sail east, trade wretched fish and shells for gold. Huh? Who's there? Mutiny, mutiny. No. So, who's there? Very well. Like, I would say there's a very compelling possibility that this is referring to our guy listening outside of the room. This makes sense. This makes sense. So then, you know, he gets it. Then, very close by, what's all this you damn fool? We don't get any real conversation here. Okay, but this guy gets it. But this was the one who was with... So maybe, you know, this guy runs out, gets shot in the room where that previous guy was. Fourth steward was also sitting there with his head in his hands. He runs out because of the kerfuffle, and this guy gets him. Then this guy, who was already stabbed by this point, I can't remember how far, I actually think it was, he was already, like at this point he was crawling quite far. At this point I think he was crawling part way, so he's already been stabbed by this point. Oh, this is really interesting because it's about who he was stabbed by, right? You know what? Now that I'm following all of this through, a little bit, I just want to go back to... I actually want to go back to part 3 because I want to see if I can come down here during that part. I'm not sure that I can, but that'll be the earliest point we can see. Okay, so out the magic door. The magic door. And we just need to turn around to this one. Da-da. Alright, I'm pretty good, I think, with what's happening here. You guys everyone's gonna block me. Is that how it is? No, not you. You are not gonna block me. Great. Hang on though. Let me just get because these guys are of interest, actually. This is such good music. That's William, but that is Gunnar. Alright, I just want to place them in part 3. Got it? And yeah, you crawling over everything. So by this stage, what are we doing? We're heading down. By this stage, what's going on here? The door is open, but it's blocked. Right. Okay. I can start to put all of this together now. He's going, her, and that's our. That's who I think is the fourth steward. But this guy's already come out. He's like, what's this? What's this? And he's got the knife in his hand. I understand now. So you get knifed by this guy. Very interesting. Very interesting. So we know what... I don't know this guy's name yet. So I can't, like, name and shame in the actual book. But I know who has stabbed you. It's this guy. It's this guy. Now, hang on. By this stage, there's already blood. This is Alfred's blood, though. Yeah, okay. That's Alfred's blood. It's about to be your blood. Got it. Okay, cool. That's good to know. So I know who stabbed you. I just need to know their name. Just seeing if there's anything else to notice. Right. Okay, so it's in part 3. In part 3 that guy gets stabbed. One of our midshipmen. Yeah, one of our 2 midshipmen. Cool. Then... Okay, let me just piece this again back together. Alfred dies in part 1, and he is told by our hatted guy that the captain came up from the hold, said he chased it off, you should rest. A curse like that does not live for nothing. Alfred dies at that point. That's the last thing he says. So I would suspect that what happens after that is this guy, our hatted stabber, and who I think is the 4th steward, continue to talk and scheme. They are, whether they were before this a little bit or what not, they're suspicious of Captain. They're suspicious of Captain after this. In part 2, while all of this is going on up above, we know they're still talking in the room at the back there, and midshipman is listening in. In this part, that guy has hatted guy has already come out. Tall hatted guy has already come out, and he is about to stab our midshipman. In this part, now this is interesting to me. Our hatted guy says, enough, Captain cannot be trusted. So it's as if, so what I think, I'm going to go and double check, but what I think is happening right here is, between the last part and this part, this person here, this victim here with the hat, has stabbed the midshipman because he was listening to them. He's now all riled up, and he possibly goes back into the room where he was, and he says to the 4th steward, enough, Captain cannot be trusted. I think 4th steward says, you have a plan? Sorry, 4th mate. Do I keep saying steward? Mate. The 4th mate. You have a plan? Yes. We take ship and sail east. Trade wretched fish and shells for gold. Huh? Who's there? So he's scheming. Mutiny. No. I'm still... I just want to go and take a look at this now as I'm starting to piece this together. So it is... Which... Put the watch away. I'm trying to look. Can't I see who's who here? Look, anyway, I just, from the look of it, I think this is the guy I'm after. Yep, 4. Good. Now I'm going to listen to this one.
Captain Campbell.
Hat guy.
You have a plan?
4th mate.
Take ship and sail east. Trade wretched fish and shells for gold. Hey, who's there?
Mutiny! Mutiny!
Right.
Bastard! No!
So, I understand now what the mutiny is in relation to. Someone has listened into what he was saying, hatted guy, and they are saying, mutiny, this guy here with the tall hat. It's not a very tall hat, but like the upwardly, stretched hat is is planning a mutiny. Got it? Originally, like just when I was kind of coming into this scene bit by bit, it seemed to me there was a bit, because I was thinking it's all of this other stuff that's happening on the ship, and it's spreading down here. There's a mutiny that's coming down into this deck. You know what I mean? Now I realize no, it's like the source of this idea of mutiny is coming from this room here where Alfred died. But now, this is really confusing me. Why are these two fighting each other? Is it so? The one saying mutiny, mutiny is 4th mate. This guy thinks they're on the same page, and mate says, "Nah, I ain't having a bar of that." But to be honest, he does it in the most crazy way possible. Like, why not go, "Oh, that's really interesting, my friend. I've just left the oven on upstairs. I'm just going to go upstairs." And why not go and like get some help? Like, why, when you're alone in a room with someone who's planning on doing something really bad and has just stabbed someone at this stage, right? Like, this guy has just come back from stabbing the midshipman. No. This is confusing to me. This guy has just gone out and stabbed the midshipman. Am I being really silly here? I may well be. Trust me. I totally acknowledge that. But I feel like at this stage, I feel like what's happened just before this is Hat Guy came out, stabbed midshipman who was listening in. He comes back in. Enough! Captain cannot be trusted because he's ready to act at this stage. He's just stabbed someone. Now, 4th mate says, "You have a plan?" "Yes, we take ship, blah, 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 blah." And then he's like, "Oh, now that I've heard your plan, mutiny, mutiny." And this guy's like, "Hell no. You're not on my side after all." No. Because here he is, he's been stabbed by this stage. So this is all clicking into place for me, that this is sort of the correct sequence of events here. This is the way to read it. Really interesting how I have come to think in a totally different way about this scene, about this whole chapter, but definitely about the scenes happening down here. Okay. Can I look in here at all? Yeah, there's just no one in here, right? There's just no one in here. And at this stage up here, these guys here Hey, gunshot. William and, I do keep forgetting your name. Christian Wolf, right? Christian Wolf. William and Wolf, let's call it. William and Wolf hear this commotion. Captain is just, he's just had it. What the hell? What is going on my ship? I am in charge of nothing. I've got problems. I've got big problems. Things are so bad. Things have not gone how I expected. This is, yep, our jungle gym enthusiast. And a guy who just, look, I know who it is, but I just like to confirm that's the guy who was just shot by the older woman. And at this stage, I guess we just can't see anything of them. Once things go out there, detach from the ship, everything becomes invisible. It can't be that much time. It can't have been that much time for that boat to get down into the water properly and leave. And yet they appear to be just gone. I can't look over there though. I mean, there's nothing to be seen. Hello though. Why is there that kind of round shadow? There's that round shaped patch there in the ocean. I mean, is the implication that that's the boat that has escaped there, and this ship has just continued on at such a pace that they've been, like, you know, left? But they went over on this side. Huh? How, if that is the boat that has escaped with the 4 people on it, like, doesn't make sense to me that they would be over there already. Okay, anyway, I cannot solve this mystery right now. Alright, okay, I'm getting more of a grip on this chapter. This is very satisfying. Where's my door? Where's my escape door? Over here. Hello, door. Okay. Yeah, there's nothing in particular to be seen up here though. Got it. It's so nice revising this actually. This is very satisfying. Okay, and next one is this guy, because, you know, apparent 4th mate has just shot someone that everyone else is these guys have just heard the shot. They come down. What? You shot that guy who was a perfectly good friend, you know, and crew member. So they club him over the head. Yep. Okay. I think that that's going to turn out to be Christian. I think we can actually name that one. Which one? Right here. Let's jump in.
What's all this, you damn fool?
Now, are you Christian? Am I correct? Yep. I think that, yeah. The problem is I can input the attacker. I feel fairly good about that. Hang on, where are we gonna? Christian Wolf was clubbed by Christian Wolf. I am effectively calling this guy the 4th mate. It's just that I don't know. Who is this? You cannot deduce this with confidence yet. I mean, look, I'm going to say I can. I feel I have a lot of confidence over this, but I want to play the game in the way the game wants to be played. And so I'm only, I'm not going to force it. I agree with you, game, that I cannot say with full confidence, but I'm going to say I have a fair amount of confidence, and I'm totally happy to be wrong about this. But yep, you are right. I cannot say with certainty yet who this is, but, come on, look at his hat. I think he's a mate. In fact, I'm just going to look at this one more time. Yeah, we know the first mate, we know the second mate. I think I know Martin. So I think this is John Davies. Okay, cool. This is coming together for me, the sequence of events. Yeah, so this guy is like, how dare you? Why did you do that? He doesn't know. Whereas William has come down, looked over here, and seen the stabbed midshipman, who I think is either Thomas or, was it Charles? Thomas and Charles, maybe? Who is about to crawl into this room, which is very near where he ends up, I understand. Ace. So I think we understand how these events come together here. And in the last part here, we know that stabbed guy crawls in here to die. All right, I actually have one more important mystery to look at here, so we're going to go into this last part. I mean, there's still many, many mysteries here, but I have one more that I want to look at right now, which is over here. I didn't expect to actually be going to be revising this so thoroughly, but this is just working out.
Oh no, you're cut.
Don't leave me.
Bear up, son. I'll stay with you.
Tell Pete's mother I tried my best.
Aye.
To pull him back, to save him.
You tell her yourself. Brennan! Bring the surgeon's kit!
We know who this is. I have a good idea about who this is. One of the two, midshipmen in question. Now that I know that this is Christian, which I didn't know before, who is Brennan that he's yelling out to? You? This is kind of... he's just in here. Who would he expect to be out here? He's yelling. I guess I can only think this guy. So now how does this make sense? If you are Brennan is... Where have I missed Brennan? Henry Brennan Seaman. I mean, he is all the way at the back of the top picture in the sketch. Is this guy Henry Brennan? He's just Seaman. It's just that, he's really near. In all of these scenes, he's really there in the thick of it, you know what I mean? Which makes him seem... But Henry Brennan is indeed just a seaman. This guy, there's no doubt that First Mate William Hoskett is yelling out to Brennan. So Brennan is who he expects to bring the surgeon's kit. It's also interesting that they say bring the surgeon's... I mean, this has been interesting from the start to me. They say bring the surgeon kit. They don't say call the surgeon. As if Henry is no longer here. Henry Brennan. There's no other Brennan, right? Not that I can see. What I'm curious about is the game going to agree that I have enough to call this guy Brennan? Where should we fill it in? Shall we fill it in? Let's try and fill it in. Shall we fill it in on the sketch, or shall we fill it in the very first place that we, not in time, but the very first place in my playthrough? Where we saw him. Really? The game doesn't think I can fill this in yet. Okay, look, I'm gonna pay attention to the game. But here's my other consideration. Oh, no. Here's my other consideration. This isn't the very first time this has occurred to me, but I didn't really give this thought much currency before. Am I wrong about who the gunner is? Because but you have 4 in the okay. We know that the captain, at the justice at sea moment, we know that the captain says, Mr. Wolf, if you would please. He refers to Christian Wolf, who is the gunner. I had made the assumption at that stage I had made the assumption at that stage that obviously the guy with the hat who successfully does, shoot the victim in that scene was the gunner. That just made a lot of sense to me. However, now that I think about it, I guess the fact that he was the one, like, what, why did I make that assumption when there are 4 shooters there? Why would he be the gunner? I was thinking he was the, I don't know. I guess maybe because he was successful, he's in a lot of scenes. I think I've made this assumption based on flimsy evidence. I think that's what's happened. And so in terms of positions, though, to consider this, there is the gunner, and then there is the gunner's mate, who is from Poland. The gunner is from Austria. Actually, when we hear this guy speak in the previous scene, maybe there is no sign of an accent. So actually, he could be Henry Brennan. And who I'm thinking, this thought had occurred to me, but just not to this, I don't know, like not with enough depth for me to investigate. This guy here is kind of directing them, isn't he? This guy is kind of directing them. Is he the gunner? Who the hell is the gunner's mate then? You? What does a gunner and a gunner's mate do if not hold the gun? So I guess that maybe these are just shipmen, or maybe you are not the gunner. It did let me enter this in, though. Wasn't this the guy? I was originally thinking that this was Brennan. So what if I change this to Brennan? It's just been that. I just needed to rethink who Christian was. You're just a regular seaman. You're not a gunman. Yep. Wow. That was a long time coming, probably, but like here we are. Ah, how victorious. Yes. Good. That was really satisfying. I'm actually really glad. I'm really glad that things kind of unfolded in that way, because it was really cool to carefully go over the evidence and question my own assumptions. I really enjoyed that. So finally we have our next 3 fates. Yep. I'm super pleased with that. You are Brennan. So indeed, we do not have enough information. We don't have enough information. That's kind of interesting, because it actually gives me another angle on problem solving in this game, which is that the messages that the game sends you about who you don't have enough information on and who you do have enough information on to input, that in itself, gives you some clues about who's who. Aha! You are Brennan. I think that's originally who I thought was Brennan for ages, right? And then I just flipped. Cool. Super satisfying. So, does that then mean... No, it doesn't mean that I can add anything here. Because, yeah, these... I again, heavily suspect who these people are, but don't know. I heavily suspect who this person is, but yeah, indeed, there we go. I don't know if it ever gives me that information on this end. It might let me have a guess at... Yeah. Yep, okay. Cool. Super cool. Okay, unfortunately though, it's time. So I'm going to have to end this episode here. I guess, I don't know, let's do it with this scene, because like victory is so connected to my big victory. I had thought that we would be going into the next chapter in this episode, but I didn't realize actually how caught up I was going to get in being able to like revise this chapter here, and that was incredibly interesting and fun for me. I love the revision because when you first encounter all of these points of drama, you're just like, whoa, bam, like what are the big events that appear to be unfolding before me? But so much of the tantalizing fun of this game is actually in the going back and forth. It's in the slow, careful consideration when you have more information, more knowledge kind of behind you, at your back, and then kind of like winds at your back, it propels you to more carefully consider what you're now seeing as you look back through certain scenes. This was great. This is something very special about like the bread and butter of the enjoyment of this game for me. This is great. I really enjoyed this. I hope you have enjoyed too. If you've been enjoying, I always appreciate a like for the video, a subscribe for the channel if you're not subscribed, and any comments, as long as they contain no, information about the game, no hints, no winks, no nudges, etc. So that you can let me do exactly what I've done, make mistakes, make incorrect assumptions, eventually come back to them and have a very satisfying click moment with them. I've loved this so much. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm going to see you in the next episode, where we will definitely be going into the next chapter down below. Bye-bye.